have for you an essential true Hebrew calendar update. There are 2 corrections I have to make to it, and both corrections are necessary for finding the true Day of Atonement. One of the corrections has to do with an error I made, and the other has to do with the need to do actual observations of new moon sightings. Before we start looking at those adjustments, let's quickly talk about why it is important to be on the true Hebrew calendar. Back in the days of Moses and Aaron, there was an everlasting ordinance given regarding the appointed festivals, and one of them is considered the most holy day of the year. That is the Day of Atonement. Let's go ahead and read about the Day of Atonement from Leviticus 23:26 through 32. And the Lord said to Moses, "The 10th day of the 7th month is the Day of Atonement. Hold a sacred assembly and deny yourselves, and present a food offering to the Lord. Do not do any work on that day, because it is the Day of Atonement, when atonement is made for you before the Lord your Elohim. Those who do not deny themselves on that day must be cut off from their people. I will destroy them from among their people, anyone who does any work on that day. You shall do no work at all. This is to be a lasting ordinance from generations to come wherever you live. It is a day of Sabbath rest for you, and you must deny yourselves. From the evening of the 9th day of the month until the following evening, you are to observe your Sabbath." First, let's talk about what we are to do and not do on the Day of Atonement. The first thing mentioned is that we are to deny ourselves. In fact, 3 times within these verses, we are told that we must deny ourselves, otherwise we will be cut off. So what does it mean to deny ourselves? If you look at how the majority of translations have translated verse 27, you will see either the words deny, humble, or afflict yourselves. But what does that mean? Well, it used to be well understood that denying, humbling, or afflicting oneself was a reference to fasting, but that understanding has been scrubbed from modern Christianity. I personally have never heard of a Christian fasting on the Day of Atonement, and it was not until last year that I understood that the Day of Atonement was a day of fasting for all people of all nations. The Day of Atonement is the only day where we are commanded by the Bible to fast, and yes, the fast includes liquids as well. Let's continue with the other requirements for the Day of Atonement. At the end of verse 27, we are told to present a food offering to the Lord. This is a food sacrifice. We are to present a food offering not for our consumption, but to be sacrificed to the Lord. This can be you making a plate of food you desire that you put to a fire so that the smoke of it rises to the heavens. This aspect of the Day of Atonement is only mentioned once. The last aspect of the Day of Atonement is doing no work. It is again mentioned 3 times in verses 28, 30, and 31. This command is very easy to understand, and it has no ambiguity to it. It states very clearly that anyone that does work on the Day of Atonement will be destroyed. So that is how we keep the Day of Atonement. No food or drink, a food offering to the Lord, and no work. Now let's talk about what is taking place regarding our salvation on the Day of Atonement. Every year our names are either written in the Book of Life, or they are blotted out of the Book of Life based on our faithfulness or our sins. The Day of Atonement is when the Book of Life is shut and records whether or not we kept the Day of Atonement. Let's read Daniel 12, verse 1, and see how that affects us. At that time, Michael, the great prince who protects your people, will arise. There will be a time of distress such as not happened from the beginning of nations until then. But at that time your people, everyone whose name is found written in the book, will be delivered. When the Great Tribulation begins, it is only those that have their names written in the Book of Life that will be delivered. So if you would like to not die during the Great Tribulation, it is very important that you keep the Day of Atonement. So now, let's talk about when that is for 2023. If you look back at Leviticus 23, you will see that there are two places in these holy scriptures where the timing of when to celebrate the Day of Atonement are given. In verse 27, we are told that it is the 10th day of the 7th month. And in verse 32, we are told that it's from the evening of the 9th to the following evening. Verse 32 tripped me up, and for a few months I had been citing the Day of Atonement a day early. But after close examination and a look at the interlinear, it is clear that the word evening of the 9th is referring to the sunset at the end of the 9th day. I had moved the Day of Atonement to the beginning of the 9th day in error for a few months, but now another issue has come to light. I was expecting a new moon sighting after the sun went down on October 15th, and it never happened. If we look at Stellarium, you will see that it looked like a new moon sighting might be possible, with the moon being 1.5% illuminated just before it went below the horizon. But it turned out that the moon was too close to the sun in the sky, and that the sky was too bright to be able to see it. No other reports of new moon sightings came in until October the 16th, where not only did we sight the new moon, but it was sighted in Israel as well. So October 16th at sundown is officially when the first day of Tishri, also known as trumpets, began. Now looking at the true Hebrew calendar, we can see that the Day of Atonement will officially begin at sundown on October 25th and end at sundown on October 26th. That makes October 30th at sundown the official beginning of Tabernacles, and the sundown of November 7th, the official end of Tabernacles. When looking at the calendar I have created to track the true Hebrew calendar against the Gregorian calendar, it is important to understand that the Hebrew day is sunset to sunset, so it will always cover 2 Gregorian days. I have lined it up so that when new moons are sighted, that the Gregorian date will be correct at the time of the new moon sighting. So since the new moon of the 7th month was actually sighted on October 16th, it is important to remember that the Hebrew day number 1 of the 7th month does not end until the sunset of October 17th. That way you will understand why the Day of Atonement looks like 2 days on the calendar when it is actually 1. And for Tabernacles, you will understand why I said it ends at sundown on November 7th. Hopefully this true Hebrew calendar update has not disrupted any of your plans you may have made, and if so, I'm truly sorry. There is a good chance that the new moon sightings of the 8th and 9th months will need to be adjusted as well, due to the same situation we ran into with the new moon sighting of the 7th month. But neither of those months have festival dates in them, so it will not disrupt anyone's plans. I hope you contemplate keeping the Day of Atonement as prescribed by the Holy Scriptures, because keeping your name from being blotted out of the Book of Life is extremely serious. The link to the true Hebrew calendar is in the description box as part of Fundamental Truth number 5, and I will try and answer any questions regarding the calendar in the comments section of this video. Thank you for your attention, and I pray that you, and myself included, find our names written in the Book of Life, and that we'll be in the kingdom of Yahawashai together 7 years from now.